Happy Monday. Busy weekend. By the way, I watched our shows when I was out, and I saw at one point Alana going, "Oh, Scott should be back tomorrow." And you didn't even say anything. You were just like, "I don't know."
Was I wrong?
No, you weren't wrong. I wasn't in on Friday. I'm back, working with about one eye, but that means your other senses are better. My sense of smell off the charts right now. What else? What are the other senses?
Taste is incredible.
Taste? Yeah.
Hearing you hear everything they say about you right now, right? I know you. I mean, the spotty senses are up right now.
You're right.
When one diminishes a little bit, the others heighten. So, that's why I love you, bro. You always have a positive mindset. It's all about how you perceive it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you lose part of your body and you gain strength in other parts or something like that. So I'll be Peter Parker today.
Are you?
Am I?
I don't know. You kind of look like him.
Right. I don't really wear glasses.
You're giving
on
the
sequel.
You're definitely giving the sequel, Peter Parker.
Hey, I didn't play ball, but I do know what it's like to live with basically one eye right now. So it would not be good for baseball. You know who I have respect for? I already did.
Tell us.
It's someone you have a ton of respect for. Tommy Pham has a serious eye condition.
Oh,
the fact that he has dealt with that for a long time and been able to play Major League Baseball and see a baseball, that's incredible. I know you know about that too, obviously. But
no, I know all about that because
that's crazy.
He helped my son out big time.
Yeah.
No,
One of our ex-teammates as well, AJ. I don't know if you ever remember, Michael Bourne literally can't see in one of his eyes. It's crazy.
How do you hit a baseball?
I don't know. Well, what Tommy Pham goes through every day. What Tommy Pham goes through every day is ridiculous because I've seen his routine and what he has to do with his contacts, and he changes contacts and he wears hard contacts, which is a different animal.
You feel those.
Yeah, he feels those. That's why if you see Tommy, he's always kind of putting drops in his eyes and stuff. It's crazy what he has to go through.
Yeah. Well, respect.
The fact that he's still doing it is pretty impressive because not many people could do what he's done.
No, I mean, I think he's been in the bigs now for a decade plus, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He came up in 2014, so.
12 years. 12-year pro. Anyway, respect. We'll have to get him back on the show again soon. Let's charge. Busy weekend.
Charging the mound.
Dodgers take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. Do you know that Friday was the first time the Dodgers were underdogs, I think, at home? Yep. First time all season they were underdogs at home because they were taking on Fried. They still won. That was a good game on Friday. And then Saturday was not a good game. 18-2 Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
That's good for Dodger fans. And then Sunday Night Baseball, Yanks win 7-3.
Well, I'd be lying if I said I watched 1 second of these 3 games.
You didn't watch any of them?
I was watching college baseball weekend, dude. Forget it.
It's
May 30th.
Back and forth.
I was not. I had the squeeze play on. I had the other game. Listen, I did not watch it, but I saw the highlights.
College baseball was lit.
Highlights.
All right,
I'll tell you. Okay, go ahead, Scotty. I'll tell you what I took away from it if you want me to, because I did watch.
Yeah, I'll take your takeaway since I've definitely watched more of one game than you guys watched of all 3 combined. But
I actually watched. I probably watched 7 innings of every game of
then you start.
Yeah, I watched every game, and as hot as the Yankees were, as good as they've looked this season, and I still won't take anything away from them. But what I took away after this season, after this series was over, is that the one thing that the Yankees or any team is going to need to beat the Dodgers is a full staff. I mean, you think about the Dodgers having 14 plus guys on the IL right now. And their lineup is still incredibly formidable. They just have professional at-bats up and down the lineup. They stress you out, especially when you don't have that depth in the starting rotation or in your bullpen. And for me, when you look at the guys that will be getting healthy, it just says you're going to need a full slate, a full loaded, healthy rotation to beat this team. And as good as the Yankees have been playing, it makes me wonder, when it comes October, I'm starting to wonder who can beat the Dodgers with their rotation. And it's only one team kind of right now sticking out in my mind. And we'll see how it goes moving forward. But the Dodgers are just so deep. And you go out and you realize now why they went out and acquired all of those extra pieces. At times we wonder where they're going to use them, but now you see how it's going to shake out. And they're so deep, it's going to be hard for any team to be able to withstand that in a series.
Who's the team that you're talking about?
AJ, I don't know if AJ wants to hear this, but right now, I'm going to say if they're able to make a move, I think they still need a bat. The Seattle Mariners, man, with the way that they're swinging the bat, they started to embrace where they play, right, and have a gap-to-gap approach and take the homer when they get it. Cal Raleigh, the big dumper, has been providing all the power that they need, but I think they still need that bat. But when you look at just from a rotation standpoint, a team that could go in there and actually compete, come October, I think the Seattle Mariners, man, I think they're starting to find a real identity and trust, what they do offensively. And if they can add maybe one more bat, I think they're going to be tough to beat in the series.
No, I thought you were going to say the Tigers. The Tigers are the team.
Yeah.
The Tigers
I
are
agree.
the team.
That's my other team.
The Tigers,
I agree.
The Mariners, no. The Mariners, listen, Cal Raleigh.
The
I love
Tigers
Cal
are the
Raleigh.
D-backs. Yeah, the Tigers are the D-backs of the American League. I totally agree.
They're way better. They're way better than the Diamondbacks.
I didn't say the Tigers because they're already up there for me. I just mean a team that nobody's thinking about that could have a chance. I agree with you 100%, AJ, but I mean a team that even with the way they're playing, nobody could see it happening. I just still think that rotation is that good. But I agree. The Tigers are still my favorites in the American League right now. I agree. That's not a disagreement.
No, here's the problem with the Mariners, though. Their rotation is kind of beat up from all the innings they threw last year. And they really have one guy swinging the bat. It's Cal Raleigh right now. And Cal Raleigh, listen, I know what Aaron Judge is doing, but for the defense and what Cal Raleigh brings to the Mariners, he's got to be in the MVP conversation. You guys all laughed when I said I would take him in my top 3 players in baseball. You guys all laughed, you and Kratz. But
I didn't
listen, he's there. He platinum glove, right there in the lead for home runs.
Yes.
Catches every day, like every single day. Now, will he slow down a little bit?
Both sides of the dish.
Yeah. More than likely, yes. I mean, but here's the thing about the Yankees. Here's my takeaways from the series. And I didn't watch it, I admit it, but I did see the highlights and I did look at the box scores every morning. First of all, the first time Fried got roughed up. He got roughed up. Team that has faced him a few times, they roughed him up, okay? Shohei, 2 homers, big deal, left on left, obviously. Judge and Ohtani hitting homers in the same inning, kind of cool. First time it ever happened. Cool. Okay, second game is a wash. But Will Warren ain't the answer for the Yankees, so they're going to have to find another starter. He's not going to make it. I'm sorry, Will. I'm sure you're a fabulous fella, but it's not.
Stroman's coming back.
Okay, maybe he's the answer. I don't know. But they're going to have to find a starting pitcher, and Kike pitching is always fun.
Yeah.
Kike versus Pablo Reyes is pretty awesome. Dalton Rushing, by the way, first homer off a position player. It's kind of funny. Hit his homer off Pablo Reyes. It's kind of funny. And then last but not least, the game last night, first time Yamamoto's really got roughed up. Like the Yankees roughed him up a little bit. I hadn't seen that out of anybody.
He had the one bad start against the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, but I mean, this was one of those where you're like, okay, is he human? Because he had been so good the whole year. So, listen, the Dodgers beat the Yankees 2 out of 3. At least they're not having parties and telling everyone that we knew they were going to beat the Yankees. But I don't know. It's May. It's June 2nd. I mean, can we really take a lot of it? Because these teams are going to be different when they get to the postseason.
Mookie Betts wasn't playing in the
Mookie Betts, by the way, that's a big deal. He stubbed his toe and broke his toe.
Yeah, fractured his toe.
How do you do that?
It's the one next to the big toe. It's the second toe. So apparently you can
I've done it getting out the shower.
You've done it?
Happened. Getting out the shower. The shower has like a little ledge you have to step over, and I got on the way out. Yeah, broken toe. It happens. Happens, AJ. Everybody's not as agile as you, AJ. Okay.
How long were you out for with a broken toe?
I wasn't out though. You just played through it. I mean, that was me. I didn't have Mookie Betts' money, so I had to grind through it. So.
Yeah, you had to.
I tell you what. There's one thing. I mean, I love Mookie. I've known Mookie forever since he first came up. People are still amazed. They were like, "Man, you were Mookie's first RBI." I was like, "No kidding." I played with Mookie when he first came up. Okay, but. Man, if you're Mookie Betts, you got to make up a better story. Like when I stubbed it in the shower or whatever he did. I don't know. Something like I was playing kickball with my kids or something. I don't know. Something. But he's too athletic to stub his toe and break his toe.
He needs an Uncle Rico story. I kicked the kickball clear across those mountains and broke my toe.
Yes, exactly. Something like that. You're Mookie Betts.
His was he stubbed it on some furniture walking to the bathroom in the dark.
You know what? Okay, funny story. So – and I'm in a lot of hotels, like Cam, I stay in a lot of hotels. So I wear my trusty Nixon watch right here. You can see it. $100. Everyone's like, why do you sleep in your watch? Because when I wake up in the middle of the night and I got to go to the bathroom, it has an LED light that I can go like this.
Let's go.
And it shows me how to walk. So I don't stub my toe. So Mookie, invest in a watch that has a light on it.
Not just a watch of Nixon. Shout out Nixon.
Not those damn Rolexes and all that stuff. You be watching the Petites and the Richard Meals and all those. Like, they don't have lights, but this little Nixon, that's $100. It gets me to the bathroom when I need to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. It doesn't wake anybody up.
So, yes, you're right. We will see totally different looking teams, or at least somewhat different looking teams when we get later in the year. I mean, you would think one of, if not both of Snell and Glasnow could be pitching late in the season for the Dodgers if they eventually get themselves back on track. My other thing that also holds true, I think, still, is that the National League is far superior to the American League. I think the Tigers the Tigers and the Yankees, sure, they're having
the Tigers and the Yankees have separated themselves from the whole American League.
I agree.
Absolutely.
And then you go to the National League and you're like, there's teams that can, I think, play ball with the Dodgers, right? Yes. I think the Padres, 100%. I think the Mets, I think the Phillies, if they fix the bullpen a little bit. I think there's quite a few teams, 3 or 4 teams in the National League that could put up 100%. A pretty damn good fight, and you could make a case that they're better than the Tigers and the Yankees. So this was a good litmus test, but with the Yankees using, their 2025 ace on Friday, they still lost that game. To me, that was like the big one.
Yeah. Of course.
And also, too, the Yankees, what worries me, they still wait for the homer. Before yesterday, all their runs via homer.
That's a good call. Dodgers, it is a home run reliant team.
It is still, even now.
Let's get Jim Bowden's thoughts, our resident GM. We'll check in about this. The kind of crappy news about the ABS challenge system for next year. There's a Jarren Duran trade rumor. We got a lot to hit with JB next on FT. FT fam, this is us live right now talking about a new platform that we're going to take advantage of so that we can chat beyond just the 2 hours a day that we have here with you on YouTube. So it's called ChatBCC. It is totally free. And there is a group chat for Foul Territory. Foulterritory.chat is where you can go right now. And we will be posting, one of us hosts, every day. There will be a side chat with the FT fam. There's a lot that we're going to do. So we'll let you know more about this as the days go on. But for example, we're going to do a For the People segment tomorrow. That's just your standard Q&A. You have questions for us. You don't have to wait until YouTube. Just ask it. It could be at 9 a.m. It could be at 9 p.m. It could be something that you catch during a game. You could post about it. And everyone's getting involved on the platform. Cam, I know you were looking into it today too.
Yeah, I'm waiting on fans right now to come through and give me thoughts on this past weekend. I'm already signed up. I'm ready. Right? You know, my favorite thing, connecting with the fans, they make us who we are. So let's go, man. Leave us your thoughts as soon as possible. We are waiting. I saw you in there already. So now we're just waiting for AJ, and we'll get the rest of the boys locked in.
Yep, I'm in there. So all the hosts will be in there. If you have questions for us, we're going to bring some of those. Obviously, we'll talk within the chat, and then we'll bring some of those onto our For the People segment. There's a lot we can do in there. So baby steps, just get yourself in there. It's a good spot for us to obviously enhance the community and be more of a 24/7 community as games are going on. We'll be posting about things. So check that out. We're excited about it. Again, foulterritory.chat to start chatting with FT hosts. We've got the host section and then the side chat section. So if you're watching us right now and you've been in the YouTube chat for 5 seconds or for years, this is finally an answer to those that are like, damn, I wish that I could chat beyond just the 2 hours that we have. The other thing that we do is that you, me, and Kratz have a group chat with Mark, our EP, and we have tons of group chats with the rest of our hosts too on text form. And what do we do on those often? We'll send topics that we want to hit, right? Mm-hmm. So fans can now send us topics that they want to hit on FT. And then we'll pick some good ones and put them out on the show. So anyway, foulterritory.chat. Front Office Unfiltered, our resident GM, Jim Bowden, joining us right now with a fantastic backdrop.
No, the background's awful. Do you know what that is? It's awful background.
Why?
Do you know what that is?
Wrigley,
I don't
baby.
see well today.
Yeah, it's awful. Come on.
Go Wrigley, baby.
You should have the exploding pinwheels back there.
Wrigley in the summer, Jim. I love it. Jim gets it.
Baby.
Let's go, AJ. Come on, man. Jim gets
it. Jim worked for the Reds. He didn't work for the Cubs. Like, come on.
Still
it's
better
a
than
bad background, AJ. They don't have a Reds fat head background to throw on a wall. So I got what was available. It's the only one available by Fathead. So
we could get Adam Dunn's fat head back there and you can cover that whole thing up.
That's good. All right, let's dive into biz. JB, I want to start with the ABS challenge system report from a couple people. We've seen multiple reports out there that it's not going to be ready until at least 2027. I think most of us were assuming this was a 2026 thing. Were you surprised to see that news?
Yeah, I was surprised when it came out, but I don't think it's really the commissioner's office or the clubs that don't necessarily think it's ready. It's the players. And quite frankly, Major League Baseball got the feedback from the players during spring training when they used it, and they got a lot of pushback in a lot of different areas. And I think after conversations with the Players Association, I think they realized, hey, we better not rush this in. I mean, remember, the CBA expires December 31st of 2026. So we only have one more year. There's no point in trying to push something that everybody is not on board with. And I think the relationship between the commissioner's office and Tony Clark and the players, it's extremely important between now and the time that CBA expires so we don't end up with some kind of work stoppage. So working together is important. Getting feedback is important. So I give a lot of credit to the clubs, to the commissioner's office for listening to the players and saying, okay, we're not going to rush this thing. Let's keep working on it until we can get it to the point where everybody's on board.
I thought everyone was on board. The players seemed to love it. Every player I talked to loved it in spring training. They loved it for many reasons. The biggest reason was it kept umpires in check, right? They had to not only – listen, players, as you know, Jim, only get a certain amount of at-bats, not only in a year but in a career. And for some guys, those at-bats are more important than other guys. Right? The bench guys say it's a blowout game and they need to do something. They come in late and they need to get in a hit or a walk or whatever it is. And sometimes umpires would loosen the strike zone up. Okay. But every player I talked to was like, it kept the umpires right, straight and narrow for 9 innings. And you're never talking just in spring, even in spring training, because some of those games, again, are more important. So why are we waiting? Like, I don't understand. Everyone thought it was pretty good. I get your reasoning. But to me, like, let's do this. Like, we rolled it out in spring training. Fans loved it. Players loved it. Teams loved it. Let's do this.
Well, the reaction was mixed, though. I mean, I know you talked to a lot of players, but it was mixed. And the feedback was, hey, we're not there yet. There was also a lot of question and debate about, how many challenges does each team get? Do you get another challenge once you've used the challenge if you win the challenge? How much power should the umpires have late in the game? Who should have the power to actually challenge? I mean, there's a lot of issues behind here that everybody hasn't agreed on. But, the report that was out there from Bob Nightingale was pretty clear in the information that he had learned is that there was some pushback from a lot of players on the way the system is right now. And they want to correct it. They want to make it a little bit better. And I think you make a mistake when you roll out a new rule and you don't have it right. You don't want to sit there and roll it out. And then on April 20th, you have everybody complaining and then you try to fix it. You can't do it that way. You really have to get it to the point where everybody's on board and liking it. Look, we're coming down this path. And whether it's going to be a challenge system or it's just going to be an automated strike zone, which I think is eventually where we're going, it's going to happen. But you have to do it at the right time when it's working and everybody's on board.
Hey, Jim, I want to ask you, 2 questions, kind of the last one on that end, because the hitter in me wants to believe that the holdback was from the pitchers. I'm just, I feel like it shrinks the zone when you watch these games. I mean, watching, Taylor Walls getting ejected, Soderstrom getting ejected last night. Clearly, for me, it feels like it's going to, help the hitters out. So was it the pitchers giving the most of the backlash? And then 2, I want to touch on the Yankees-Dodgers. What did you take away from this series as far as these 2 teams, both in first place, championship last year, rematch? Give me your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, so there were complaints from both, I'm being told, pitchers and position players. I guess the biggest name that complained about it was Max Scherzer, future Hall of Famer. He didn't like it. He had some issues with it. But I was told it was both pitchers and hitters. Again, I don't have a list of players. No one gave it to me, but I understand the feedback's mixed. In terms of what we witnessed this weekend, I felt like on Friday night that I was just back at the World Series in late October and was watching the same series again. Yankees go up 5-0. Dodgers come back, tie it. They win the game. The two superstars, Ohtani goes yard twice, Judge goes yard. That game was so great, right? It was epic. And the better team won, kind of like at the World Series. So then Saturday came, and I got my popcorn out. I got my Orville Redenbacher. I got the butter. I got the salt. I filled it up. I got real excited, right? I love popcorn. And like when I go to movies, I'll eat the whole bowl of popcorn during previews. It's gone by the time the movie starts. So that's normally my plan, eat it in the first inning. So I start the popcorn, and all of a sudden in the first inning, it's 10-0. And friggin' Ohtani is batted 3 times before some of the Yankee hitters even came to the plate. So that game stunk, right? And then the Yankees come back and win the third game. I guess what I learned is this. Number one, that we know the Dodgers are a better team, A. B, the National League elite teams are way better than the American League East teams. And so when you look at the National League teams, the best teams, I'm gonna say Dodgers, Cubs, Mets, Phillies, Padres. I think they're the 5 best teams in the National League. I have an argument that all 5 are better than the Tigers and Yankees, the 2 best teams in the American League. And I kind of feel like that's what I watch. Now, keep in mind, the Dodgers were able to hit the ace Max Fried. And on Sunday, we saw the Yankees hit Yamamoto, their best starter. So it also tells me we get back to October, the bats are going to rain. We're not going to have these 1-0, 2-1 pitching duels next postseason, because these big hitters that we have on some of these lineups, they can hit the best pitching in baseball. And we saw that in Game 1 and Game 3 of this series.
I couldn't agree more when you talk about the National League being more superior. So with that said, do you think this is going to come down to it being another year where the National League reigns champs? Or is there something that the Yankees, the Tigers, I mentioned Seattle with their rotation. I know Cal Raleigh's doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Is there something in your eyes that those teams can do to possibly, be able to have a chance, an actual chance to reign champion as far as American League team goes?
Oh, definitely. I mean, look, we've all watched, over the last 15 years. I mean, how many wild card teams have won world champions that we weren't expecting, right? A couple of years ago, we had the Rangers and Diamondbacks, 2 wild card teams in the World Series. So, as you know, anything can happen. You get to a short series. Look, the Tigers have a rotation that can run the table when they're healthy. The Mariners have a rotation that can run the table when healthy. But I think in general, if the better team wins, we're going to have another National League champion. And I'm not a bettor, but if I was in Vegas betting, I would bet on 5 National League teams before I'd bet on any of the American League teams.
Wow. Okay, so let me give you, I think you're going to like this. Not a doubleheader, but a triple header of questions for you, JB, on the Dodgers, and then we'll move on, okay? One's on a unicorn, one's on a utility player, and one's on a trade that was a head-scratcher for me, okay? Ohtani, another step in the right direction, it seemed, over the weekend with his progression against hitters. Then, of course, he just goes out and plays a game and had a great weekend with the bat. Number 2, Ha-Seong Kim, because I heard you talk about him on your radio show on SiriusXM, and that plays into my third question, which is Alexis Diaz. I get it. The Dodgers are going to outspend most teams, but Ha-Seong Kim was not an expensive offseason pickup for them. And he started in the minors. There are other teams that could have made the case, hey, we can pay you more and you can start out in the major leagues with us. Alexis Diaz acquired, and you're looking around like, wait, this dude was really good not that long ago. He should still be in the prime of his career. So the second part after Ohtani is how the Dodgers are winning at the margins in ways that don't necessarily cost much and confuse me, because I'm like, where is the rest of the league on some of these players?
Yeah, great point. So they're smarter than most everybody else is the quick answer, right? Led by Andrew Friedman and Brandon Gomes in the front office, and I'll include Dave Roberts as well. The interesting part about the Dodgers, that they don't outspend people to win. They actually do a lot of market deals, and they didn't overpay Teoscar Hernandez. Plenty of teams should have offered more money in years than what Teo got. And that's been the history over there. They're just smarter than other teams, right? Trading for guys like Tommy Edman. And so, you look at Ohtani, I'll start there with Shohei that you mentioned. Look, I love him hitting. I think he's going to win the MVP award. I think he may be the first 60-60 player we've ever seen. He may do it this year. It won't surprise me. But to win a World Series for the Dodgers, to go back-to-back World Championships, it's going to come down to starting pitching being healthy. And the Dodger front office and the field staff have no idea which one of their aces can be healthy in October. Can Blake Snell? Can Tyler Glasnow? Can Yamamoto? Can Sasaki? Can Ohtani? They don't know. So the whole key is let's try to get all of our starters healthy for October. So when we get there, of the 5 aces we have, hopefully we can get 3 of them that are healthy to run the table. In terms of Ha-Seong Kim, I really like what I've seen with him. This is a player that is a really good defender, can really flash the leather. This is a guy that can really run. We saw him at a home run in that series against the New York Yankees. He's got some power. He's got great hand-eye coordination, great bat-to-ball skills. And the Dodgers tell me, Brandon Gomes, their GM, has told me that they believe that he can be an answer in center field as well. But here's a guy that, you could play him second, short, center, left. You can put him in a few spots. I really like the player. Now, in terms of the trade for Diaz, that was a moment where Andrew Friedman takes a deep breath and says, my analytic department is better than yours. My pitching room is better than yours. We know how to fix players mechanically with pitch sequencing, with pitch grips better than you. So, when you give up, we'll take him. He had 45 saves for you in 23 and 24. I'm sorry he got off to a bad start for 2 months. I know you don't want the contract, so I'll take it. I'll get him. I'll fix him. I'll have another really good reliever for the second half of the season. And that's what Andrew does. And then he yawns and goes back to his office.
Okay. There's a couple things I'm going to dig into. First of all, the Dodgers get the guys, and then everyone seems to get hurt. So, I don't know. They might have a better pitching lab, and they might have better grips, but they also have better doctors, Jim, because their whole staff's continuously on the IL. So, I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's not a good thing, depending on who you ask. But speaking of a guy that went down, Corbin Burnes went down. If you look at all the stuff and you read the lips, my elbow, it exploded, or it's dead, or whatever he said on that when he said to the trainer, my elbow. How screwed are the Diamondbacks, and what do they do now? Because if he's out for a long time, this was their big addition. Gallen's a free agent, fought his last start, didn't get an out, and gave up like 10 runs. Eduardo Rodriguez hasn't been good. They already got rid of Monty because, he went down again. What do the Diamondbacks do?
Sell, Mortimer, sell, right? Isn't that what they said in Trading Places?
It's a great movie, by the way.
You become the headliner at the trade deadline with the Orioles. That's exactly what the Diamondbacks do. Look, they're 28 and 31. And they don't have the pitching to come back, right? When you look at their offense, they're 4th in baseball of the 30 teams in runs scored, in home runs, and OPS. They don't pitch. Corbin Burnes is their best pitcher with an ERA under 3. If Corbin Burnes needs Tommy John or is out for the year and needs some kind of surgery, they're screwed. Their season's over. You got Eduardo Rodriguez still on the injured list with a shoulder. So what do? You've got Zac Gallen and Merrill Kelly. Both are going to be free agents. You got to hope Gallen starts to pitch better, by the way, because he hasn't pitched well. He better pitch better. But you shop those 2 starters. There's not a lot of starters that are going to be available at this deadline. You take Josh Naylor, the first baseman, who's a free agent at the end of the year. You call Seattle. You see if Seattle wants a first baseman that can hit and drive in runs. You ask teams needing a reliever. Have you watched Shelby Miller lately to see what he's doing for me? So that's what you do if you're the Diamondbacks. I don't see them coming back right now because they don't have the pitching. And if you lose Burnes, they really don't have the pitching. So that's kind of how I do it. And by the way, that team is like the Orioles. If those 2 teams sell at the deadline like they should, both of those teams can quickly fix it in the offseason and be right back in it next year in a really good spot. But this could be a great opportunity for both of those franchises to do a quick reboot come July.
So let's stay right there. You gave us those 2 teams. Give us who else with the trade deadline coming up, 59 days away. Who are the sellers and who are the players that are going to be on those blocks?
Yeah, great question, Cam. So look, a lot of these are obvious. I'll go quick with them. The Rockies, the White Sox, the Pirates, the Athletics, the Marlins, the Angels, all 6 of those teams will be selling. That's pretty obvious. I'm going to throw the Washington Nationals in that as well. That's 7. Then you add the Diamondbacks and the Orioles, you're at 9. There'll be more, but that's a really good start. Now, the problem is a lot of these teams don't have a lot to trade, right? You look at the Rockies, Ryan McMahon, he's got some value, perhaps. Teams looking for an upgrade at third base. They've got Seth Halverson out of the bullpen. Maybe someone will think they can do something with Kyle Freeland. I don't know. The White Sox have Lewis Robert, but not much besides that. Maybe an Adrian Hauser, maybe a Steven Wilson. The Pirates, they don't have much. Dennis Santana probably. Andrew Haney or Adam Frazier, kind of extra pieces. Athletics could move Jeffrey Springs, who they acquired in the offseason. He's 32 years old. They might be able to do a nice trade there. Marlins don't have much because Alcantara has ruined his trade value because he's not Alcantara yet. And so I think they got to hold him until his value comes back, which will be either in the offseason or next year's trade deadline. So from them, you probably got Jesus Sanchez, Cal Quantrill, and Anthony Bender. The Angels, probably Taylor Ward, Kenley Jansen, Tyler Anderson, probably names that are out there. The Nationals, probably Kyle Finnegan, Jacob Young, probably in the mix there. But look, the headliner of this trade deadline, think of the Orioles. Ryan O'Hearn, he'll be one of the best bats moved. Ryan Mountcastle with a power. Cedric Mullins, elite defensive center fielder with speeds, got 10 homers. Then you've got Zach Eflin, a free agent. You got Charlie Morton, who's pitching better. You got Sagano's pitching better. I mean, I just named 6 guys that they can trade. So they're like the Diamondbacks, where they could clean up at this trade deadline. And by the way, if Boston doesn't start playing better, they could be a fascinating team at the deadline too. 59 days, by the way, until the deadline.
I love it. The only person more excited than you, the only person more excited right now than you, Jim, is Mike Elias, because he's like, more prospects. I can get more prospects. And that way I don't have to sign anybody. I can just get more prospects and keep them until their time has passed, and then I'll have more prospects.
Yeah, his job's on the line, though, AJ. He's got to rebuild this thing quick. I mean, that's the way I view it. I mean, he has to have a good deadline. He has to put his team in good position. He makes some good trades at this deadline, and you go to free agency and sign a couple of really good starters that are out there. He can fix this thing quickly, but I think his job's on the line.
All right, JB, 2 more for you. I'll do the second to last. Jarren Duran, San Diego Padres interest. Did you see Dennis Lin's report, and what do you make of it from both sides? Of course, the Padres could use someone like that. I mean, they have a hole at left field and maybe DH, but doesn't that mean the Red Sox are kind of punting, or does it open up a place for Roman Anthony to have a discussion that's worth having with them?
Yeah, so for the Padres, of course, A.J. Preller is going to make that phone call, right? Outfielder Tatis in right, Maryland center, and Duran in left. That power speed combination. Duran was an all-star last year. That's a really good outfield, and it's a huge hole that he's got after Profar left last year in free agency. He hasn't been able to really fill it. So of course he's going to make that phone call. Now for the Red Sox, the whole thing has been perplexing because one of their top 2 or 3 players in the organization, Roman Anthony's in AAA, and they're not promoting him. And at the same time, they had no interest in moving Anthony to first or Abreu to first or Duran to first, right? So they've kind of made the decision that he's blocked. You can't bring him up to DH because you have Devers. So in order to make room for Anthony, you either got to move Rafaela to second, put Duran in center and Anthony in left, or you got to trade one of the outfield corners. And so I'm not quite completely understanding what Craig Breslow is going to do, but the Duran rumors kind of opens up that possibility that he is thinking of trading Duran, bringing Anthony up and going with Anthony, Rafaela, and Abreu as the outfield. They love Rafaela defensively, and they should. He's an elite defensive center fielder with great range, great speed. He's incredible. I don't know how much he's going to hit. He certainly has, good raw power. I don't know how much the hit tool is going to play. But that's the only thing I can think of. Devers isn't going to move off of DH, so that's kind of where they stand. So trading Duran makes sense. Now, the problem with the rumor is there's really not a fit between the Padres and the Red Sox. I can't find, they really don't have the starting pitcher to trade Boston. Their farm system isn't what it once was. So I don't know how those 2 teams would match. So I think it's unlikely there's a trade there, but it would not surprise me at all if Craig Breslow, the GM of the Red Sox, plan is to trade Duran, because otherwise, why haven't you made room for Anthony? It just doesn't make sense.
Agreed. Speaking of prospects, there's a big one coming for Kansas City. So I'm going to ask you this question, Jim, as a former GM. Is it easier to find pitching help in the draft or guys that can possibly hit you 40 homers?
So let me answer it this way. When you draft a pitcher in that first round, and Jac Caglianone was the 6th player taken in the first round, Billy Beane, the former president GM of the A's, really said it simply before the algorithms all came out, but he said it simply. For every pitcher you get, one is going to live up to expectations, one is going to blow out, and one is going to regress. Those aren't good odds with your first round pick. But if you take in the first round a guy that can hit big league pitching and has power, that guy's going to play, and he's going to play for years to come. So when you're talking about the first round pick, if there's a choice between a pitcher or a hitter and there's similar talents, you take the hitter because of the risk factor. Now, if there's a Paul Skeens or Steven Strasburg there, obviously you do that. But yeah, look, I think without a doubt, this kid, Jac Caglianone, he's Matt Olson. That's what he is. I mean, he's got 35, 40 home run power. And the thing that's great about him is how much plate coverage he gets, because you look at some of the analytics and people will complain, well, he chases out of the strike zone. You know what he does out of the strike zone? He mashes out of the strike zone. Because of his frame and his long levers, he can actually do damage outside, on the outside corner, on the inside corner. I mean, it's unbelievable. And by the way, he uses the entire field. He's foul pole to foul pole. This isn't just a young pull hitter. So again, he's Olsen. I don't know. I think he's going to have some trouble on balls up in the strike zone, but he's a star. Look, he's only played 14 games in the outfield, 12 in right and a couple games in left field. But yeah, he's going to be a star.
All right. So my question is how does he fall to 6th? I went into last year saying he should be 1-1 because of just the raw power. Now Bazana is fine. I know that's at Cleveland. We can sign him for probably less deal. But I look at like Charlie Condon. I know he had one big year at Georgia, and he jumped in the conversation. But Nick Kurtz is already in the big leagues, and he's producing before he got hurt. But my question is really the reason I asked the question is I'm a White Sox fan, right? And they drafted Hagen Smith, the pick before Caglianone. What can't the White Sox do? They can't hit. So why would you not draft the guy, especially in that ballpark and in that division? Like, you got to hit. Like, that's why I want to know, is it easier to develop a pitcher or a hitter, or to find a pitcher and hitter? Because the White Sox, they're supposed to have, Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz and all these pitchers coming. But you look at them and they've had a really hard time developing anybody that can hit worth a crap. Right? So why would you not take the guy that hit 40 homers every year in the SEC against Hagen Smith and some of these other guys? That was the only reason I asked the question. And the way you answered it made total sense. But to me, it's like, how do you pass on Caglianone for anybody when you can't hit?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I think the hardest thing to do in baseball is hit big league pitching, hit major league pitching at 98 miles an hour with these unbelievable vertical and horizontal breaks and all the differential and speed changes. And I mean, in sports, is there anything harder to do than hitting a baseball? And when you get those guys that can hit, yeah, that's where I'm going. I'm taking the hitters every single time. I learned by failure. And the other thing that I will say, though, is, look, it's not a perfect science either. Look at the year Jacob Wilson is having with Oakland. Or I should say the Athletics, I'm sorry, West Sacramento Athletics. But the season he's having at the plate, that has been unbelievable. And there were a lot of really good hitters that were taken before him in that particular draft. So it's not, a perfect science. To answer your question, I would have taken Caglianone without a doubt. I would have taken Kurtz. I mean, I would take a hitter there. The only time that I change is if the guy is a generational ace, because that's the hardest thing to get in baseball, because it's either costing $300 million in free agency, because you can't even trade your farm system really to get that guy. So if Skeens and Strasburg are there, I'm doing that. Otherwise, I'm taking the Mark Teixeira, I'm taking the Joe Mauer. And it's the hit tool first, and the power follows, and Caglianone has both.
JB, you brought absolute heat. I am very excited for the trade deadline as well, under 60 days. Until that point, we'll talk a lot up until that point as well. I love your backdrop. Thank you. Talk soon.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
And your Louis Vuitton matches the backdrop, too.
Oh, he's bringing it today. That is the Monday energy that we need on FT. Will Carroll is going to do a little injury combo with us next. What the heck happened with Yordan Alvarez? FT fan by now, you know if you're buying, selling, trading, collecting cards, Arena Club is the spot. We've been talking about them all season long, but I do want to focus on the slab pack experience, Kratz, since you've been ripping some slab packs digitally. And what happens?
I mean, as a kid, you wanted to rip open the packs. How can they do this digitally? Oh, baby. This is exciting. How the graphics come out and everything. And oh, yeah, the card that you pull, you can actually get that, John, physically. So it's perfect. It's all in one place, and it's a super exciting experience.
Yeah, they send that to you from the vault if you want it. But if you look at it and you're like, it's not the card for me, I want to sell back, go for it. You can do any of that on Arena Club, and you can acquire the best value for your money with those slab packs, transparent checklists, and Arena Club's Slab Safe program. Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/FAL and use code FAL. arenaclub.com/FAL. Use code FAL. We'll mix in some fan feedback here, and a reminder, ChatBCC today, if you want to see more information, go check it out earlier in the show. Here's Jackson weighing in saying ABS favors hitters. A challenge ABS will embarrass some umps. Full ABS with a loosened zone sounds good. Give the pitcher an inch outside. And I'll just add to this. Damn, Cam, I wish that we had ABS challenge system coming next year. I'm pretty bummed about that news.
Listen, if anybody follows me on X, I think everybody knows how I feel. You know, for me, the one thing I think that it will clean up immediately is the back and forth between the player and umpire, right? We saw Taylor Walls lose it, right? That saves him I won't say embarrassment, but that saves him the embarrassment of having to, lose his cool like that. Like, those little things for me especially will, one, make the game better. That will eliminate that right there. And again, I think like AJ said, for me, I think it did a really good job of keeping umpires accountable. Whether you're a pro hitter or pro pitcher, I think it's something that needed to be implemented sooner rather than later. So with you, I'm extremely bummed to hear that, and I just know that I'm going to continue to have to keep my X hot, calling umpires out, reposting and retweeting how bad they've been. So I guess that's where we are. If we get ABS, I don't have to do that anymore. So I guess we still have a couple more years for me to continue to call out some of the arrogant umpires that I watch behind the plate. Won't say any names, but they showed up this past weekend in full effect.
All right, injuries suck. You know the deal, but Will Carroll is here as the injury expert to help us sort through everything. Make sure you check out his Substack, Under the Knife. The info gets much more in depth there. But let's hit the surface here, Will. Good to see you. It was an injury-filled weekend. I'm going to start with the biggest head scratcher for me personally. Can you walk me through the Yordan Alvarez situation? They had him hitting and swinging and getting ready for potentially playing in games this past weekend. And then we learn that there's actually an undiscovered injury. It sounds like via CAT scan, which they hadn't initially done. And he's got a small fracture on his right hand. It's on his ring finger, right? They didn't catch anything on an X-ray, on an MRI. So tell me what your thoughts are on this injury and if the Astros might have cost themselves a potential playoff spot by holding back their superstar further, since I think that he hurt himself a little bit more by starting to rehab.
Yeah, we don't have any information on whether it held him back, whether there was any re-injury, but we do see this more often than you think. Travis Sawchik did a great article last year that I helped him with, where he was walked through the whole X-ray and MRI process. It's not as dead on as you think. It is the best possible technology we have, at least until the nanoscopes come pretty soon. But sometimes the inflammation, the fluid around the fracture, will miss it on the X-ray. You see it. The doctors, the radiologists think, hey, this is clean. Let's just wait for it to heal up a little bit, wait for this to go down. And then, you do a CAT scan and there it is. It's unfortunate, but it does happen. So just an unfortunate situation for Alvarez and for the Astros.
Well, how often do you think this happens? Because I had this happen to me. I mean, granted, this was 1997. I was in Hawaii playing, and I got hit by a foul ball and I broke my... I broke my bone, whatever this bone is here. And All I did was I went in. It was great for me because I got 3 weeks off in Hawaii and I didn't have to play, and I just got to go to the beach every day. So listen, there are worse places to be on the IL or DL back then than in Honolulu, Hawaii. But how often does this happen? Because what happened to me is they did X-rays, and I was like, I can't swing, I can't because it hurts. I'm like, oh, it's just inflamed. And then they did a bone scan, and then they were like, oh, there is a crack in there. No wonder you couldn't play, right? So why don't they just do all the tests right away? Like, what are we waiting for? Like, it's not like they're doing something. It's not like bone scan on your hand or a CAT scan on your hand is that big of a deal. I mean, you literally sit there and they do the MRI and you're done. Like, I don't understand why we just don't do this right away.
It's expensive. That's the one thing. You've got to schedule it. It's not free. X-rays are right there. They're in every.
Come on, Will. Come on. They're expensive.
I agree with you.
They're expensive. They're expensive. You just talked it expensive on the Houston Astros. They're expensive. Is it more expensive to not have Yordan play, or is it just to do an MRI?
See, but this is the penny wise, pound foolish thing.
And by the way, you have to schedule it. They're the Houston Astros. Jim Crane picks up the phone and calls Houston Baptist Hospital, whatever it's called, and they get him right in. Trust me, I had MRIs and CAT scans. You don't wait. You go right in.
And the playoffs.
Right in.
I completely agree with you. These are the excuses that medical staffs will make.
Yeah, but, Will, if they miss the playoffs, I mean, I'd rather pay for the CAT scan. Hey, if it's if it's 100%. Someone else, maybe we chat. Yordan Alvarez is the superstar. I'm like, how does this? I would CT scan him as much as possible to make sure that he is freaking perfect.
That's something I always wonder about. Would you do more scans just regularly? Players do resist that. Here's the other thing, and this one is one that drives me crazy. We've seen this all over the place. Why are players getting hit on the hand at all? Padded gloves exist. Shohei Ohtani wears it. If Ohtani can wear it, why can't everybody wear it? If you were playing today, AJ, would you be wearing it?
I wore everything I could. Listen, Bryce Harper, wear an elbow guard. Bryce Harper, you had a surgically repaired elbow. Let's put an elbow guard on. Bryce, I've worn an elbow guard my whole career. They're comfortable. There's a million different kinds. I tell my kid all the time, C-flap would have been a thing now. Like, I think it should be mandatory. You have to wear a C-flap. I'm sorry. I think
100%.
Pitchers complain about, armor and this and that, but like they protects guys and helps them play. Like you should wear a hand. My kid wears a hand guard. I would never wear a shin guard because I didn't foul a lot of balls off my shin. But if I did, I would have had a shin guard on. But I wore an elbow guard because I got hit in the arm and I threw right-handed. So I couldn't afford to get hit and not be able to throw. Like, yes, wear the 100%. Armor, guys.
100%.
If I were a player, I'd be wearing an Iron Man suit out there if I could.
Yeah, and I was the guy, and I was the player that didn't wear a lot of stuff, but hindsight 2020, I'm like you, AJ, looking back, I would have had the back then, it would Bagwell would have had the matchbox. I would have had the matchbox. I would have had the elbow guard. I would have had this. I didn't foul a lot of balls off my foot either. I would have did it anyway, just in case, just to be safe and sorry. But Will, I want to stay on the injuries. I want to talk about AJ Smith-Shawver, how good he's been. But what's the holdup there, right? Are they still trying to get more opinions before they decide on surgery? What do you have for us there? Because, he was big for the Braves right now, or had been big for the Braves this season.
He was, and this is just another one of the injuries that we're seeing. It was a little odd because, he was pitching well. He got hit by that comebacker, and then one batter later, he's out, and we're told that the elbow's gone. This does happen. I watched the game back, and he was kind of shaking his arm, so there were some signs that something wasn't right, but he was still pitching pretty well, ticked down on velocity, not spinning it quite as much. But he's getting more opinions. These are usually just confirmations and trying out the surgeons. Are you more comfortable with Dr. Elatrosh or Dr. Meister or Dr. Kremchek than you are with your team doctor? Does your team doctor do enough Tommy Johns that you're comfortable with that? So, yeah, we're going to hear fairly soon that he's having elbow reconstruction. And let's remember, it isn't just plain old Tommy John anymore. We've got internal brace, we got hybrids, we got T3 that Chris Ahmad does, which is even more complex. And we're seeing more and more of these as the technique widens itself.
I want to ask you too. You said something that kind of made me remember. I had a past incident this weekend. I have a younger group of young men, 17-year-old class of 2026, and I had a kid throwing a bullpen, and in his bullpen, he kind of after every pitch kind of kept shaking his arm. And you said that about AJ Smith-Shawver, and I know a lot of people are different. But in your research, in all the injury coverage that you have done, if you're a coach, if you're a dad, is there any type of advice when you see a young arm, kind of going to that, shaking it out? How should parents, coaches address that? Because I think it's important, because I had a situation this weekend where I saw it. The kid, they're going to tell you they feel good, but sometimes we got to protect them from themselves. How would you give advice on approaching that?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly what you said. You go up when you see something that's unusual, that's potentially showing you a sign. The players. There are some guys that go through routines that shake it out, that stretch and do all sorts of other things. But if you know that young man and you see this is unusual, get him out of there. We see far, far too many of these young players heading for Tommy John. We've seen collegiate players, that's exploding. We've seen guys as young as 12 and 13 having their first surgery, which is why we're seeing seconds, even third surgeries if they make it that far. I get it. This is the time of year where we always get one of those high school, somebody threw 150 pitches in a game. It's the end of the season. That kid's probably never going to pitch again. They're trying to go for a state championship. So I get it in some of those situations. But other ones, I can remember Lance Lynn was here in Indianapolis out in the suburbs. He was on a great team. And he went like 145, 150 pitches. And I said how risky this was. He went on to have a pretty good career. But he also went on to have a lot of elbow problems. And I wonder, was that part of it? It's not like you get lung cancer the first time you light up, but it does take a toll.
What about Corbin Burnes? What are we thinking on Corbin Burnes? When you see a guy like Corbin Burnes who's been as durable as they come, look at the trainer and just says, my elbow, something. How bad is this? And how long will it take for the imaging to get back and for them to make a decision on what's next?
You said it earlier, he's probably in there now. I don't know exactly what time that place opened, but I'm sure the Diamondbacks had him in there. To me, what it showed is that they have a lot of trust. He's new there. They're not used to his routines and probably, figured it out by now. But to be able to trust that medical staff, you work with some of the best of them, AJ. If you trust that medical staff, if you know they've got your best interest at heart, then you can say early, hey, I'm feeling a little bit sore. Hey, this doesn't feel right. Let's get this checked. And maybe they caught it early. Let's hope so, because Corbin Burnes is one heck of a pitcher, and the Diamondbacks sure need him.
Hey, Will, I'll take us to more of your classic Tommy John situation for Evan Phillips. But of course, the bigger picture is the just crazy run of arm injuries for the Dodgers. They've spoken about it. They talked about how they wanted to review their processes in the offseason. It's still a thing. So what do you think of this recent news and, again, the injury run? Do you think that there's anything that can actually be done, or do you think this has more to do with the type of pitching profile that they go after?
Both. They've got so much depth right now. It's kind of amazing that they still have pitchers after all these injuries, that they still have bullpen arms seemingly coming out of their ears. But they do have to reduce this. They do have risky pitchers. They brought in Sasaki knowing the kind of problems that he's had in Japan. They brought in Phillips knowing the kind of problems that he'd had in the past, or Kopech. So you get these kind of guys, you're basically buying these problems for your medical staff. On the other hand, the sheer number of injuries, it isn't just the Dodgers. I'm not knocking them, but we've got nearly 25%. I think the number was 24.6% of all players on the IL right now. That's crazy. They're burning $1 billion a year on just the injured list. If the people that own the teams had that kind of loss in any of their other businesses, boy, you bet they'd be in there and firing people and making sure this didn't happen again. And in baseball, they shrug and they say, call up the next kid.
The Dodgers, speaking of calling up the next kid, I don't know if they can cover for this one. The Mookie Betts injury, is this an all-time funny? Like, is this not funny? It's not funny. It's funny because how it happened, but it's not funny that anyone gets hurt. But is this on the all-time, like the guy who lifted up his suitcase and got hurt, or was it Freddie Freeman fell in the shower? Freddie Freeman fell in the shower and hurt himself. I mean, is this going to be one of those injuries we look back on and say Mookie Betts broke his toe because he didn't have a light on to go to the bathroom?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Mookie can afford a nightlight or one of those motion activated ones. Yeah, this is just unfortunate. We've all done this. There's nothing you can do for that toe. Maybe you buddy tape it, you put a shank in the shoe, but it hurts and it eventually heals. Bones heal. But yeah, you think of Smoltz, ironing the shirt with it on, or I remember Otis Nixon hurt himself falling out of bed because he was dreaming about spiders. But yeah, this is just one of those things that you forget a guy like Mookie Betts is human and stubs his toe like the rest of us.
By the way, I
Hey,
fact checked really quick. Aaron Sanchez hurt his finger when a suitcase caught it. Also,
True.
that was in 2018. In 2012, former catcher Jonathan Lucroy was reaching for a sock and a suitcase fell on his hand, resulting in a fractured metacarpal and a stint on the IL.
I don't know if that Smoltz story is true, but I know Lou Ford, who I played with, did iron his shirt on and burned himself. I know that's true because he told me.
Wow. That is.
I don't know if the Smoltz story is true, but I know it happened to Lou Ford.
That sounds like a dare or a wild night out. But hey, can you iron your shirt with it on? Anyway, Cam, last one.
Yeah, last one for me. Listen, a guy who I think we're all rooting for. He is back, kind of back. What are the plans for Mike Trout as far as he goes, trying to acclimate himself back into that Angels lineup?
Yeah, this will be interesting. Can they keep him at DH? Well, absolutely. He's Mike Trout. You need him in the lineup as much as possible. He was hitting fairly well, at least from the power numbers. He was looking like he was moving pretty well until he wasn't. But this knee is not going to get better. This is a situation. The one that I keep coming back to is Dwayne Wade at the end of his career, where he had the meniscus removed way back when he was in college, and eventually it just wore down. Those bones are grinding on each other. Uh, it doesn't have the same cushion. You can drive a car without shock absorbers, but you're going to feel it. And that's what he's getting now, is that bone on bone. They're going to have to figure out how to keep him comfortable, how to keep the swelling down, how to keep it from bruising again. But it's going to bruise again. So the question is, how much can you squeeze out of it? How much longer do you have? All his career he was compared to Mickey Mantle. This is not the part of that comparison he wanted.
Oh, if only a show all offseason said that they should probably leave DH open for him, since that felt like the best spot. But then they acquired Jorge Soler, who is a streaky player, but right now in a below average bat in the first couple months of the season. Anyway, we'll have to look and see which show did that. Will, thank you very much for the time. Appreciate it. Great to catch up. Obviously, wish there was better news, but we do hit the bat phone when we need you. Thanks, man.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Make sure you check out Will's Substack, which I mentioned earlier. It's called Under the Knife. Type it in.
Scott, you need to check out this Roback hoodie I have. It's 85 plus degrees here in Florida. Look, lightweight, feels great, cool colors, perfect for those hot Florida days.
I agree, AJ. Color looks fire. And you can get your own sweatshirt, polo, hoodie. Go check out Roback. And if you do and you're a first-time customer, Roback.com using the code FOUL gets you 20% off your first purchase. RHOBACK.com, code FOUL. Get after it, FT fam. A little bored of the lowest ERAs after the first 12 starts of the season. In Astros history, they've had some good ones. Justin Verlander, 1.11. Nolan Ryan, 1.38, among others. But you go a little further down, and number 6 on this list is Hunter Brown. He has a 1.83 earned run average.
I said it. I've been saying it for a while now. Dark Horse Cy Young Award candidate. If you watch this dude pitch, the best part about the Hunter Brown story, he's completely changed the way he throws. I mean, he was a Justin Verlander clone, and he went to the sinkers and is now just dirty. Nobody can elevate him. Nobody can get him in the air. He punches out the world. This dude is good, man.
He's got a better ERA than Tarek Skubal right now, Cam.
Yeah, I'm with AJ. I love the fact that he was willing to make an adjustment, because he was. I remember they were talking about him being the next Justin Verlander, and when you hear that, it's easy to buy in trying to be that clone. So I love that he said, you know what? Actually, I'm willing to try something different, and it's working for him. And listen, when it's broke, don't fix it. He's showing how dominant he really is right now, and the numbers do not lie. He has been one of the bright spots for the Houston Astros as they start to try to play a little bit better baseball.
Yeah. By the way, the Astros have won 6 of 8. They're a half game back of Seattle. They're 32-27. Framber had a complete game the other day. 80-something pitches. I mean, they're still damn good. We're going to talk about one of their prospect call-ups later with Jonathan Mayo. It's a good team.
Yes.
Yeah. Altuve's getting hot.
They ever get Alvarez back?
Pena's swinging the bat better. Probably the best stretch he's had. He's not chasing nearly as much as he has in the past. So, they're still finding ways to win. And I think that goes back to AJ's point against me talking about Seattle. When you look at Seattle and you look at right now, for the Astros to still just be that close to Seattle in this division, I think that's what AJ's talking about, that lack of offense still out there in Seattle.
And they have no lefties in their lineup. Caratini filling in as DH, and now Melton called up. Everyone else is righty. No platoon advantage. It's better than box scores. Let's get caught up on a series sweep from the weekend with 2 playoff contenders. The Brewers swept the Phillies. The Brewers have won 7 games in a row. The Phillies have dropped 4 straight. What'd you take out of this one?
That the Phillies are in a rough patch right now.
And?
Brewers are playing well. And Kratz was crying because he didn't know who to root for. These are his 2 favorite teams, and he's not here today. But, I mean, I don't know who he was he rooting for. Was he
Phillies.
He was rooting for the Phillies?
Philly
He
guy.
definitely was crying.
Yeah, then he was crying. I mean, the Phillies are going to be okay.
The Phillies are going to be fine. I mean, the first sweep since, 2015, I mean, whatever. I mean, they play one series every year. So
first sweep in Phillies by the Brewers since 2015. Whatever.
I mean, whatever. Yeah. It's not like this is like, they haven't played there, but whatever. Listen, the Brewers are playing better. I don't know the Brewers can maintain this because I don't know that they're that good. The Phillies are going to be fine. Everyone goes through a lull. It happens. Remember how hot the Phillies were a week ago? And now we're like, oh, no, the world is falling on the Phillies. It's not. They're going to be fine. They're going to be just fine.
Yeah, and they've still got pitching depth, Cam. The thing that stands out to me is Mick Abel made his debut. Then they optioned him, right? It was 6 shutout innings, 9 strikeouts. He's been a big deal prospect for them. It seems like he's harnessed the control now, dominating in the minors. He's called back up, might be for good. He's going to pitch on Tuesday. Taijuan Walker might have his stuff play up in a 1-inning role for them out of the bullpen. He's got kind of a newer slider. He thinks his stuff's going to play up well. So they pushed him to the bullpen. That was news from this weekend. I like it.
Well, listen, I like it. I think the Phillies are also in a spot where they have to try something, right? When you look at Alvarado getting suspended, you look at some of what they went through, and Taijuan Walker also trying to keep him healthy, right? So I think this covers a lot of different avenues for the Phillies. You get a chance to make him, he can give you length for that bullpen, and you also can have a chance to keep him healthy. But for me, this series is just another reason for me to shine light on Pat Murphy. I'm with AJ. I don't really know how good I believe the Brewers are, but it says a lot about a manager who can get guys to play hard and play competitive baseball day in, day out, whether you have the pieces or not. This is what the Phillies go through every year. We see this every year from the Phillies. A hot start, then they hit a little stretch, and at the end of the day, come October, they're going to be right there in the mix. So this is what we've seen from the Phillies, but for me, I think it's just another reason to continue to give Pat Murphy credit. He knows how to lead men, and he's getting the best out of a Brewers team that I think is overachieving right now.
By the way, what happened to Jesus Luzardo over the weekend, and why do you allow him?
He had a bad inning.
But why do you allow him to give up 8 runs in the 4th? Topper got booted from that game, so he was out in that 4th inning. They were arguing over a ball call.
Nobody
making the call.
You don't really think that a manager, just because they get ejected, isn't still pulling the strings behind the scenes.
So you think the communication line is just as good that he could have been
like, hey. It's just as good. Trust me. There's clubhouse guys that can run back and forth. There's a phone they can pick up. I mean, there's a lot of ways. Trust me. Bat boys, clubhouse guys, people on the bench, PR people. I mean, there's people that can get the point to what they need to do. It's not like they just go and hide in a padded room where they with no communication.
Joe Madden used to make it like he goes to his office and then gets a bottle of wine.
Yeah, which is fine. A lot of managers go in and have a beer.
Yeah.
I mean, Topper's Canadian. He probably went in there and had a Molson.
Right. But why is Luzardo getting 12 earned runs?
Well, it wasn't because he came out and then he also
right. There were more after.
Yes. There was more after that.
Yes.
I mean, They all scored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he had kind of
his inherited runs. Some bad luck on the runs inherited. So
he said his arm felt the best it had in a month and a half, and obviously the Brewers got to him. Also, Brewers just a hot team. Rhys Hoskins with some whatever you want to call it, extra emotions, had 2 3-run homers in that game. So just a good series for.
Rhys had a great series.
Yeah.
And before the series, I remember watching a Phillies game, and the announcers for Phillies were like, Rhys Hoskins would look really good in a Phillies uniform. And you're like, well, the Brewers got to fall out of it first. But yeah, of course Rhys would look good in a Phillies uniform, especially if he's swinging, because he's having a good year this year.
Much better. So last year, just for time purposes, 100 OPS plus. So league average hitter. This year he's at 133 through the first couple months.
The strikeouts are down too.
Ks are down. Yeah, he made some tweaks, and they're working for him right now. So that helps. I mean, the Brewers need him more than the Phillies need him right now. Yes, if they're going to stick
Bryce
around.
Harper, wear an elbow guard.
He's supposed to be back Tuesday.
Wear an elbow guard.
Missed a week. It's costly. All right, anyway, when we swing back, Hot Corner is spicy today. We'll start with the Kobe Mayo flop.
That was brutal. This is brutal.
Kobe Mayo flop.
Brutal.
There was some petty beef between the Braves and the Red Sox, and also the helmet tap ejection happened. That's next. All right, we're back. A couple injury updates. We're not going to have time for everything, so we'll touch on some Yankee stuff here. Jason Dominguez was having difficulty grabbing a bat cam after he hurt his thumb on a 5th-inning slide. He's going to have tests. He said he's going to consider wearing 2 sliding mitts. This plays to AJ's theory of the more armor, the better. And then also Luke Weaver was not able to pitch. He had a hamstring discomfort, getting some treatment, so we'll get more info, they said, after their Monday off day. I mean, Yanks will be okay. I wouldn't be too concerned about either of these, especially obviously you don't want a pitcher hurt, but if it's a hamstring, that's much better than elbow, shoulder, etc. No,
Dominguez to me is the one. He hurt it. He has a sliding mitt on his right hand, but he slides into second with his left hand.
AJ,
what are we doing?
AJ,
don't tell me the one on the right ain't for show, Cam. It's all for show. It's all for show.
Oh my God! Thank you, AJ. Thank you. This has been the one thing that's been driving me crazy about this damn sliding mitt for the last few years. Listen, I get it, right? You go back into the bag, with your right hand, but when you're stealing a bag, second or third, if you're a head first stealer, you go back in with your left hand. Why are we not putting the mitt on the left hand? Make it make sense. Or just like he said, jokingly, hee ha ha, put 2 mitts on. It makes no sense. Like you said, the right one is for show. And I'm so glad you said it. This is the one thing that's been pissing me off for years. Put the sliding mitt on the left hand. Base stealers. What are we doing?
I don't know. I don't get it. I didn't steal bases, but I'm the first dude I ever remember wearing one of these things was Scotty Podsednik, and his was like 6 inches long. His was he had like this on his hand. It was like this, and it was like a cast.
Didn't they make a rule for that?
Yeah, they made a rule. They had to shorten it.
Yeah.
But his literally was like he had his book on his hand. It was like this. Woo.
Right, which is a huge advantage.
Yeah, hell yeah. But yeah, they made it to where they could only be a certain length. But if you're a base stealer, you don't need it on your right hand unless you, I guess, slide feet first, because I used to slide feet first.
You still don't need it, AJ.
To put my hands up. But you do it for your thumb. I always thought it was to protect your fingers and your thumb, but you're not going to slide in. This hand never touches the base. The base is always over here because we're like NASCAR. We always turn left, right? So we always go left. So this hand is the one that you're going to slide into. So you would want it on this hand. Why we got it on this hand? It's stupid.
So then we need him on both hands, or just pick your left hand.
Ha-Sung Kim, we talked about, he has them on both.
Yeah. And it's a lot of college guys. A lot of the college guys are wearing double mitts. I wasn't a fan of it because I had really big hands and I wanted to be able to grab onto the bag so I didn't overslide. But you're seeing a double mitt. Just double mitt it. Let's make it make sense.
We cover all teams. We cover everything on FT, even a meaningless White Sox-Orioles series over the weekend.
I mean, the Orioles are hot now.
Yeah, they're hot.
You want to get hot? You play the Rockies and the White Sox.
That's right. They're still, 15 games under. They're going to be really fun to talk about come trade deadline time to see who they're selling. But Coby Mayo actually registered his first RBI in the major leagues, right? He's gotten up and down time with the team over the last couple years, but the controversy comes when he tries to create a little obstruction by flopping, and then the White Sox were pissed, and then eventually he gives them a little shove. So, AJ, tell me what you saw here, because we don't get flopping in baseball very often, but this was some performance.
Okay, so what they tell you as a base runner is find somebody you can run into because it'll get you out of the jam. Now, I've done this before. I did this once against the Rays, and Joe Madden got ejected. I didn't make it that obvious. You got to make it a little less obvious than trying to dive and tackle the guy. Like, you just get near a guy and fall down, and they'll call obstruction. You get the next base, right? But what he did, listen, I got no reason. I got no beef at all with White Sox being mad, because what Coby Mayo did right there was bad. Like, that was bad. It was just too obvious. You can't make it that. Like, if he gets near you, just kind of fall down and be like, oh, he touched my arm. That's all you got to do. And you get the next base. If you haven't seen it, 2008, Google what I did to the Rays. And Doug Eddings, my guy, and umpire, and Joe Madden, the conversation they had. But this is what you're taught to do. Get in a rundown. You look for somebody that gets too close to you, and you get close to them and fall down, and you get out of it and you get the next base because it's obstruction, interference, whatever the hell they call it.
Right, they don't have the ball.
Yes.
Then it's
so,
obstruction.
Yes. But what he did, he saw Sosa, and he dove at him. He's like, let me grab this guy. And it's like the guy in the fight. There's certain guys that were in baseball fights. Oh, hold me back. Hey, Mr. Umpire, hold me back so I can't go get the pitcher. But you're not really holding me back. I don't act like you're holding me. Like, you can't dive at the guy and then have whatever. It was bad. It was all about nothing. But the best is I love when the relievers have to run in, especially in Baltimore, because they come through the same gate. So the Orioles have to go first, and the White Sox have to wait for them. I say, if you want to fight, we just have a cage match in the bullpen. Like, the White Sox have the high ground in Camden Yards. Like, they could have guys coming off the top rope at the elbows. Now we're talking.
Mm-hmm. That would sell. That would make that series much more interesting.
Oh, man, that's too good. Yeah, right thought, bad execution by Coby Mayo. Listen, I thought he was going to turn around and just wrap him up. I know football season's coming. OTAs and things have started. I'm like, just go for the wrap up and scoop him up and just drop him. Like, why not? But I'm with AJ. He had the right idea, just poor execution. So I'm sure. Listen, the White Sox and Orioles, they're all pissed off about a lot of things right now. So that was just a little bit of boiling frustrations from both sides boiling over. So that's what we got right there. Two pissed off organizations right now.
All right, next up, two organizations with a little pettiness. This tweet from Mark Bowman: no music played for Red Sox BP over the weekend. It was something that the Braves players requested after they took BP without any music playing at Fenway 2 weeks ago. Cam, have you seen this before?
Absolutely. I've been at Fenway, as a Yankee, and we've taken BP, and everybody's at the Turtle, and they're looking back. Usually kind of, you don't really know where the audio is, but you know where the box office is, the skybox is, and you know where all the media people are, and you're trying to get their attention to turn some music on. So listen, I've seen it before. I know AJ probably has as well. These aren't the only teams that have done it. Hey, it's gamemanship, right? I'm not supposed to make everything comfortable for you when you come to my home, right? I'm going to make it a little bit uncomfortable. I'm going to do things that you may not like and see if I can get under your skin. They clearly got under the Braves skin with it, and the Braves clearly got under the Red Sox skin with it. So, hey, I mean, I don't know. I don't think we should look too much into it. It's a part of the gamemanship that happens when you go from stadium to stadium. And personally, I love it. I thought it was funny, and then it was one of those things where we just go, you know what? We'll just kick their butts because they want to be this way. I think that's the way you handle that situation.
This is so petty. It's awesome. It's so petty. It's awesome. Because, all right, so the first time I ever remember this was being even a thing was when we go to Yankee Stadium, the old Yankee Stadium, and they'd run like a Yankeeography of Chris Widger. And you're like, what the hell? Like, what are we watching? And they'd make you watch it during BP instead of music. It'd be literally a Yankeeography on, like, Luis Soho. And you're like, dude, like, come on. Like, a Yankee man, all Babe Ruth we get. But they run that, right? So then Jason Worth was the guy when you went to Washington. He would play, like, classical music to try to put you to sleep. So we started doing it back to him, and I think it was when I was in Atlanta. In Atlanta, Cam, you might have been there. He did it. We went to DC. And when they came back to Atlanta, we're like, all right, well, we're just not going to play music. And then we went back to DC. Guess what? We had regular music. Because this has happened a lot. It's so petty that it's awesome. But Jason Worth would play like Mozart because he's like, oh, it puts him to sleep before the game. We're like, okay, whatever, dude. It was kind of a thing. But it's so petty, it's great just because of like the people even like. I don't even half the time I didn't even know what music was playing during BP. I wasn't out there very long. I was out there for the first group and would go inside, but I mean, dudes had to sit out there for 4 groups. Probably knew better than me.
And the beauty of it is, this is way beyond the field, right? This is like the media department taking it on their own. Like sometimes, like I love Jason Worth did it, but AJ knows sometimes like. This is just like battle of the media departments, right? Like they're just gonna be like, yeah, you know what? We're not giving these guys music. Like I love how invested the people behind the scenes get, and I think that's the conversation that people don't realize. It's not always like the players going, hey, don't play these guys music. It just might be those guys up in the booth going, we're not giving them anything. We're not gonna let them get any type of vibe. Country, rock, hip hop, R&B, sounds of baseball. Listen to the ball hit the bat. That's it. I love it.
And you can give it right back. Like AJ said, okay, we see how it is. Then when you come to town, this is how it's going to be. Yep. And that's exactly what they did. To a T. Gotta love it. Okay, next up, something we've talked about since spring training happened. It might have happened already, but this is when I caught that was pretty obvious. This was the first one?
Officially happened.
Okay, good. Taylor Walls of the Rays was booted by home plate umpire Nick Lentz for doing a little not so subtle helmet tap when he did not agree with a strike call. Boom, there it is. And that is a miss. Close, but that is a miss from Lentz. Walsh giving it to him and then tapping his helmet.
Yeah, but you know what? Listen, this is bad umpiring because it's not like he did it. He didn't make like a show of it. He was kind of fixing his helmet. And listen, we all fixed our helmet. I don't know.
I think that's why he did it.
I know why he did it, but it was so awesome that he shouldn't have been ejected for it. Like, there are times as an umpire where, like, if a guy gives you, like, a really good line, you just don't eject him. You laugh, and you're like, that was good. Or, because he didn't do it. It wasn't like he was like, I mean, he kind of fixed his helmet, and then he just kind of gave it a little tap. And the umpire's like, wait, what? And he's a young guy, so he's like,
Because he's got to follow the fraternity rules. And I guarantee you, Cam, the fraternity rules this year are that if a player taps his helmet, you eject him. And if you don't, all the other umps will know about it, and you will not be invited to whatever they do altogether.
Absolutely. And AJ just said the most important thing that goes along with that, Scotty, is the umpires are telling the young ump, don't let any of these guys show you up. So they're already, we call them rabbit ears. They hear every little thing that comes from the dugout, anything you say. Hey, where's that pitch? That's a good pitch, Cameron. That's a good pitch, AJ. It's like, I'm just asking where that pitch is, dude. Just calm down. Like, those young guys are already on edge. So, again, and they have the veteran guys going, hey, something happens, don't let them show you up for a second. You put your foot down, you let them know who's in charge. So I think that was a little bit of that. But, again, he had to toss him. But I love it. I love it. It was smooth. And I'm just surprised this is the first one of the year because we've seen some really bad, brutal calls behind the dish. And I applaud Taylor Walls. Hey, you are the first to get it in. It was pretty subtle, and I thought it was pretty good. I'm with AJ. I thought it was so good, he should have got away with it.
That was history right there. Next up, George Springer with a little hop on third base and a heads-up play leads to replay with Springer out. Now, he had a nice weekend. He had a 2-homer game. Was it the same game or the game before maybe? Whatever. He had a nice weekend. So did the Blue Jays.
3 in 2 days.
The A's. Yeah, the A's are a disaster right now. But they did one thing right. They got Springer. So I think we've got the hop. We'll show it to you. And then here it is. So Springer's going to head to third on this Alejandro Kirk smack into left. Here comes Springer. 1, 2, 3 hops. And on the third hop, who is that over at third? I don't have eyes today.
Schneemann? What's his name? Schneemann? I don't know. Schneemann, I think his name is.
2, there it is. He caught him in the air. Brilliant. So,
okay, first of all, this is not what replay is for. This is not what replay is for.
Wait, but can I?
They went to replay.
If the ump caught that initially, he can say you're
I know,
out.
but this is not what replay is for. Okay, this is what drives me crazy. The guy slides and he comes like he guys clearly say, I get, but this is not what replay was originally intended for. It was intended for, by the way, happy anniversary, Andres Galarraga and Jim Joyce, because today is the day where the perfect game didn't count and it led to replay, right? Which is not a happy anniversary for certain people, which sucks. But here's a lesson, Cam, for your team. Don't jump around and act like a fool until the guy has the ball not close to you. Okay?
Facts.
So if you're out there, jump around and act a fool and do whatever you want, because listen, I got a kid and their team did all the hoo-ha, hee-ha, whatever, fine. You want to let kids have fun? I'm all for it. But make sure the guy with the ball ain't standing right there and can just touch you and call you out. All right? Just look around, have a little bit, wait a second, and then do the jump around or whatever you're doing. But this isn't what replay was for. It happened. It's funny. They still won. They would have lost by a run.
Yeah, there you go.
A different conversation.
Right. Blue Jays won. They swept. They beat the crap out of the A's this weekend.
Everyone's beating the crap out of the A's.
They are.
The A's are becoming the Rockies.
Their season's over. Just in the last couple of weeks, their season's over.
You know what? You know what is sad too.
Maybe worse.
Yeah. They placed. Listen, the difference though. Whether they believe it or not, if they're telling themselves they believe it. I truly feel like the A's actually believe they're going to win when they play. The Rockies, they know what's up. They know what's going to happen. Like the A's, they play so much harder, right? They really give effort through. All 27 outs. That's the difference. It's bad, but at least they're not fun to watch. I'd say there's some teams that I would much rather not watch than the Sacramento Athletics.
Yeah, they're just a bad team.
By the way, Jacob Stallings said they're not that bad. They're real close, the Rockies, and they just need to figure it out. And they're going to turn a corner. I'm like, wait, what? Jacob Stallings, their catcher, after they lost their 50th game in 59 games, he came out and said, "We're not that far off. We're close. We're right there." I'm like,
AJ,
what? What?
AJ, our Braves team would have smacked the Rockies.
Oh, no doubt. And we were terrible.
Think about that. And we were awful.
The White Sox team last year would have smacked this team. And the White Sox lost most games of all time.
Okay, last thing, because we're not going to spend a ton of time on the Rocks, but this is the time for it.
Why not? They deserve all the attention because they suck.
The best AAA team this year. Can they win more than 10 games at this point?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a minor league team that we're watching.
I'm not going to call them that. I'm not going to say that. But
that's
if you find the best AAA team right now, they could make it. It would be a run for the money.
Okay, that's very telling.
Because there would be a prospect. There'd be a couple prospects on the best AAA team, pitching-wise. There'd be some hitters that would run into some homers. It would be interesting. If they played like a 7-game series, you would win.
We can save this. We're going to talk to Jonathan.
Am I wrong, Cam? Am I wrong?
I'm laughing because you are so right. That's why I'm laughing. Like the fact that we're even having this conversation and that you actually really there's some validity to what you're saying, it's comical to me.
I'll tell you what.
The Rockies are comical at this point.
I'll tell you what. I played in Salt Lake City in 2000. I'll take my 2000 Salt Lake City team, and we would whoop their ass.
Yeah.
We would whoop their ass. Now, we had Torrey Hunter, Todd Walker. We had dudes. We had dudes. Minkiewicz, me. Our whole team was big.
Lawton?
Huh?
Was Lawton on that team?
No,
or he was already up?
Lawton was an all-star that year. But we scored, we would play that team right now, and it might be real bad for the other team.
That's what
because we were good. We all just were in AAA because we were all a bunch of assholes. But that's a whole different story. But I think Ortiz came down for a little while on that team. Butch Husky was on that team. We had a team that was like big. It was all big leaguers, but we just were in AAA.
Right. Yeah, the Twins had a good farm system set up. So here's what we'll do. The last question for Jonathan Mayo. We can ask him which is the best maybe AAA team that he's seen or that he thinks is out there, and we'll get a little check on how many wins he thinks they would have at this point in the season. But first, we'll get to all the prospects with him. Last thing before we hit the break. So I mentioned earlier, ChatBCC, we just put up a poll there. If you want to join, was Kobe Mayo's play clean or dirty? And if you have thoughts too, we put it up in the host chat. So you can go check that out. That's the new spot where we'll be hanging and chatting with everyone. And again, if you want to go there and get involved, then you go to foulterritory.chat and sign up. Coming up next, Jonathan Mayo from MLB Pipeline with a lot of call-ups to get to. Jacob Melton, Cole Young, and Jac Caglianone. You see this new glove from Jack Leiter, who I guess was worried about pitch tipping. It's a bigger glove. It's a longer glove. There's no holes for the index finger. Do you think that helps?
Bro, you know how many pitchers have done this? You guys are acting like this is the first time this happened. That's why I love this show. Y'all act like this is the first time there's been a pitcher that didn't have his finger sticking out because he was tipping with his finger. Listen, there was guys sticking out for a fastball, curling for a fastball. I mean, it's been going on for years. Almost every pitcher now covers that finger because they do something with their finger to give away their pitches. Like, the question is, what took him so long to figure this out?
Somebody gave him some advice. Maybe his dad.
His dad pitched in the big leagues. Like, Al didn't call him and say, hey, you might be tipping with your finger.
You probably did.
I mean, why did it take so long? I don't know, Cam. Your thoughts? Because I think this is funny as hell.
I don't know. I'm with you. It's dumb. Like, all right, you got it fixed now. Like, now go out and shove.
You better not give up a run ever.
Now you can. Like
new glove.
Like this glove isn't like it ain't a torpedo bat. Oh, here we go. Like, he's got the glove that's gonna make him deal. Like, it's like AJ said. Like, they made that finger hole years ago for that because guys tip. Like, he didn't invent anything new. Now go out and show me that they don't have your pitches. That's it. Go deal.
I mean,
no reason to spend a lot of time on that.
No, that's fine. I mean, they need him. He's pitching for a team that
has
not had much offense.
They can't hit.
They're a pitching-heavy team, even though you'd be surprised. It's not usually the identity.
They're supposed to be an offensive team, but they can't hit.
And Jack's got a
DeGrom
3.5 ERA.
Too, by the way.
DeGrom's been good. Evaldi just hit the shelf.
I know, it sucks.
Yeah, and he'd been really good. Their rotation was looking pretty good.
They got to still figure out the bullpen somehow.
Figure out the bullpen, and man,
maybe they all need new gloves where they ain't tip their pitches with their finger.
This might become a trend that already exists.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next.
By the way, you want to do a chat on ChatBCC?
Yeah, what?
I want people to watch the game and tell me how many pitchers in the big leagues you can see their finger on. It'd be like 2. There ain't none because they all got the thing over their finger where you can't see it. Hell, I got a glove over here.
Is it covered?
No. So this is from the All-Star game 2006, right?
Okay.
So pitchers all used to be like this. So they'd go like fastball, straight out, right? So when they turn, you see their finger. Or they'd be like, oh, fastball because they're squeezing it. Or they'd be like, oh, change up. That was like the easiest fix in the world because they just put a little thing over where it covered their finger.
And there you go.
I mean, that was the easiest tip of all time.
So most pitchers don't have the finger shine.
No, we should see how many there are. There ain't none.
We'll throw it out there. Jonathan Mayo is here from MLB Pipeline. Give him a follow. Also, check out all their great work over at Pipeline. And this is a fun week. Great to have you on, Jonathan. Good to see you. We got call-ups left and right. Hello. So, I mean, I want to go right to the headliner because we've been anxiously awaiting the conversation, and so is the man sitting next to me because he loves the school that he went to. But what do you think the impact will be of Jac Caglianone right away in the big leagues with the Kansas City Royals? Can he be what Jim Bowden said is the next Matt Olson type impact right away for Kansas City?
See, I'm from Pittsburgh, so for me, the impact call-up was Cole Young, so you threw me there for a second, but that's fine. Yes, I think he can be that kind of impact hitter right away. We all know the power is very real. The raw power is at least an 80 on the scouting scale, and then it's just a question of him hitting enough, and he always has. The one thing about Jac Caglianone that's always been sort of an outlier is how often he chases, but he doesn't strike out. It's a weird profile for a guy with that kind of power. I think, he started this year to make some adjustments in that regard without sort of getting away from who he is. So I do think that he has a chance to come in and right in the middle of the lineup and do a lot of damage right out of the gate.
Hey, Jonathan, I know you love Cole Young, but I want to stay here for a second before we get to Cole Young and talk about him because I know you follow him. I know you followed his track throughout his youth journey. But Jac Caglianone, this call up, and I know he really did his thing in the minor leagues. But does this have to do with any of the lack of production when you look at Kansas City Royals? I think they're second and last outfield OPS. Did he force their hand, or is it a combination of they're just not producing in the outfield?
I think it's a both and, and I think that's the thing. Anytime you look at prospects and trying to guess or predict when they're going to be up, some of it is opportunity. And I said as early as spring training that the second you start seeing left field or right field next to Jac Caglianone's name in a box score in the minor leagues, that's when the clock really starts, because he wasn't going to play first base, unless there was an injury in Kansas City. So once he started getting reps in the outfield, then you knew that it was going to happen at some point. And it was really just a question of when they felt he was comfortable enough to be able to run around the big league outfield. And now was the time. So he hit well enough to earn a call up. When he was drafted, there was an understanding that it probably wouldn't take him very long to be big league ready, kind of like Nick Kurz with the A's now. Same kind of deal in terms of being an advanced hitter who can be a run producer right away. And then it's just a question of, well, where are we going to play him? And how are we going to make that work? How are we going to get that bat in the lineup? Because you don't call Jac Caglianone up if he's not going to be in the lineup every single day. There's no reason to do that or to, quote unquote, rush him. But I think it is, Cam, a combination of those two things where he clearly was ready for that next challenge, and they created that opportunity, and there was a need at the big league level. So it kind of checks off both of those boxes.
All right, Jonathan, I have to ask you this because I asked Jim Bowden this question earlier. Is it easier to develop a pitcher, or is it easier to develop a guy that can hit you 40-plus, possibly homers like Jac Caglianone? And why would you not draft – like I brought up the draft of last year. Pizzana, Condon, I know Chase Burns throws 100. Hagen Smith went right before Caglianone. But if you're the White Sox and you're sitting there and you can't hit, why would you take Hagen Smith? Not a knock on Hagen Smith over Jac Caglianone. Why would they make that decision? I know Caglianone didn't hit off Hagen Smith in college, whatever. But what I'm saying is the potential for Caglianone, and Bowden agree with me that it's a better chance with a position player in hitting home runs because you don't have as big of a risk for injury, and it's just more of a sure thing, I guess, even though there are position players, obviously, that don't make it.
Sure. It's less of a risk, I think is what you're getting at. And especially a college who did it, at a big school and a big conference, you're minimizing the risk to a certain extent. Now, I obviously was not in the White Sox draft room when they made that decision, and it may just be that they reached a consensus that the powers that be and the decision makers like Hagen Smith a little bit better. Maybe there was concern about Jac Caglianone's chase rate. I don't really know. I've talked to enough people in the scouting industry who sort of make that claim that there's no such thing as a pitching prospect for all the variables, injury being one that you mentioned there. I think you can feel a little safer about a college lefty than some of the others in the pitching demographic overall. But I think in a general sense, you're right. If all things are equal, or you have a choice, to me, I would also take the hitter over the pitcher, regardless of the demographic. Now, if you decide that there's a high school hitter that you really, really love, and you think 5-10 years from now, he's going to be a better player than whatever college bat is available, then that's a different conversation. But in terms of the pitcher versus hitter, if you feel that both are kind of on the same plane, I would likely lean towards the hitter, knowing that it's really hard to develop starting pitching.
One more for you on Jac Cag. His manager now with the Royals, Matt Quatraro, recently spoke about the chase rate and how obviously that's a little high for him in the minor leagues. His counter was that Jac has a long wingspan and he's pretty good at hitting some pitches outside of the zone. Obviously, your quality of contact is going to go down if you're really reaching, but he thinks there's some borderline pitches that he has seen him absolutely barrel up and monster over a wall. Do you agree with that counter and how you can't just look at a flat chase percentage number with someone like him?
I do, especially because, right, if the pitch is an inch off the zone and he swings at it, that counts as a chase. So maybe there needs to be a different mechanism based on that wingspan. And I don't know if any of you have spent any time with Jac Caglianone up close. He is not a normal, human being. It's sort of mythical stature in terms of how big he is. So I think that does carry some weight. I think that he will probably continue to evolve and learn because major league pitchers will likely try to take advantage of that. and the pitches that even in the upper levels of the minors, he was getting to. And he's made an adjustment, to an extent from college ball to the upper levels of the minors. And I'm sure he's laying off the pitches that are well out of the zone. I think big league pitchers will try to take advantage of that supposed weakness and try to get him to expand the zone even more. And especially early on, when every young player has a tendency to try to do too much. And because he knows he can get to more balls out of the zone than your average human being, he's going to probably have to continue to learn to kind of tamp that down a little bit, but you don't want to take it away from him too much. So I do think there's probably a little credence to what he was saying.
Okay. Now let's get to some fun. Let's talk your favorite player, Cole Young. We saw
I don't see
what
my
a debut.
favorite player, but he's from my backyard. So.
Hey, that makes him one of your favorite guys.
I know you
appreciate that. I know you appreciate hometown and hometown love. You came up here to see me not too long ago. So let's talk Cole Young. I mean, he makes his debut, walk off. Who is this comp when you look at him? I can't help but to see Adam Frazier, but who do you when you watch Cole Young play, and what's his ceiling? What do you expect from him at the big league level?
I remember hearing Adam Frazier when he was coming out of high school. I think he's Adam Frazier with a better approach overall. And that's taking nothing away from the career that Adam Frazier has had. But Cole Young entered pro ball, even in high school, sort of a wise beyond his years approach. Makes a ton of contact. He doesn't strike out. He draws a lot of walks. I think one of the things that's really exciting over this last month before he got called up is that the impact started to show up. He started getting a little more selectively aggressive and looking for pitches to actually do damage without giving away any of his hit tool in his approach. Sometimes you see guys, they realize that the ticket to get to the big leagues is to start to lift and separate or get pull happy, things of that nature. And he didn't do any of that. It was kind of more of a natural thing. And it was more about him not letting good hitters' pitches go by. He was identifying them and really putting authoritative swings on it. So all of the data behind the numbers that look really, really good in this month of May with Tacoma point to an up arrow there in terms of him hitting the ball harder, doing more damage, higher exit velocities, all of that tracks with the numbers. So it's not one of these like, it was just a mirage or luck or things like that. Add to the fact that he is a very, very good defender. He could play shortstop if you needed him to. Obviously, they don't need him to right now, but he may be a plus defender at second base. I think he's going to help stabilize things there. And I think, the one thing you always fear when you bring a guy up to the big leagues, no matter how good they are, is that they're going to try to do too much. And I don't think he's going to do that. That doesn't mean there won't be some games like that because of the curve from AAA to the big leagues. That learning curve can be really steep. But he's always been who he is from the time he was in high school all the way up till now. He's kind of the same guy. The swing isn't all that different. So, I think he's going to be just fine and will continue to get on base and put the ball in play. Even in that situation in the extra innings, I know it was just a bounding ball to first base. But I think there are a lot of young players just up in the big leagues whose eyes would have gotten really big and would have made some poor swings or poor swing decisions and swung and missed a lot. And he put the ball in play, which is what he needed to do in that situation.
All right. What about another guy that got called up this weekend, Jacob Melton, that got called up for the Astros? What's his ceiling, and what can he help them do? Because the Astros are so right-hand heavy. He's got to just help being left-handed, right?
Right. I mean, I think that's you hit the nail on the head, AJ, in terms of just giving a pitcher a different look. I mean, I still think that he has a chance to be an everyday outfielder in the big leagues. He was on our top 100, then he came off, and it's been a little bit up and down in terms of the production part of things. But I think he has a chance to be a very productive player on both sides of the ball, and gives them that that different look just to mix things up a little bit. I don't know that he's ever going to be huge number power guy, things like that. But I think he has a chance to do a lot of things really well. It's nice to see. I think there's this tendency that you think a guy's going to enter pro ball, and if he has success right away, then it's just going to be this automatic ride to the big leagues, and he's going to keep it going. And that's an exception rather than a rule, I think. And then he, had some adversity, and then he kind of made some adjustments and figured things out, and was back on that upward trajectory. And I think that's a big part of player development that gets forgotten, because you want these guys to get to the big leagues, and you see the Jac Caglianones or Nick Kurtzes get to the big leagues so quickly that there's this expectation that that's how it's going to be for everybody. But you also need to be able to show, and I think teams want to see a guy who struggles and how he deals with that. And Jacob Melton was able to do that and kind of get back on the right track, and now he's ready to help out in Houston.
That's great. That's great advice, by the way, because now I want to ask you about Chandler Simpson. How the heck did the Rays send this dude down? He was like the most exciting player in baseball. I mean, every time he got on base, it was must-see TV. I know they have Magnum and some other guys that came off the IL, but like, how did the Rays send this guy down? I know his defense isn't perfect, but like, what's this guy's ceiling? What's his role? Because, I mean, people say Billy Hamilton, but I thought he was a better hitter than Billy Hamilton.
It's a tough. It's such a tough profile that it's hard to answer because, yeah, he's a little bit of a better hitter than Billy Hamilton, but the same questions about impact are the same. So Billy Hamilton's approach wasn't great. Everyone's like, well, he's a leadoff hitter, but Billy Hamilton never drew walks. And so that was, his, I don't say his downfall, because he had some success in the big leagues, but that always made it a question mark. I think with Chandler Simpson, it was, I remember even him coming out of the draft, people would tell my colleague Jim Callis that he was a 90 runner with 10 power on the 20 to 80 scouting scale. And he's kind of still that guy. So the impact is going to be the question. Yes, he's very exciting. If he can get on base, it's a triple. He can flare a ball the outfield and it's a double. The defensive issues were not inconsequential. They had already moved him from center to left. Because of his speed, he outruns a lot of his mistakes. But he does not have natural instincts in the outfield. I love him. I think he's exciting for the game. He's exciting to watch. He's an unbelievable personality. But I think he's got to work on the defensive flaws a little bit, and he's going to have to continue to find ways to be able to get on base at not just at a regular clip, at an outstanding clip. Because if he's not getting on base 40% of the time, then his impact as a major league regular is going to be questionable, because that's the key to his success.
Yeah, but he's not a power hitter, by the way. His singles, as you said, turn into doubles or triples. But I want to ask you this, because it's important. You have the draft coming up, and I know you're big in the draft and the prospecting. Can you teach that, though? Can you teach Chandler Simpson that? Can an organization teach a kid that? Can they draft a kid that's pure talent, pure instinct, and then they don't have a lot of instincts? Can organizations, and are some organizations better at that?
Yeah, I mean, you and I talked about a high school player. We both know about that. Like, how much is the nature versus nurture thing? And yes, I think it can be taught to an extent. Chandler Simpson has the tool that can't be taught. You can't teach speed, and that helps him offset it. But you can give someone who might struggle with, say, outfield instincts, and just have them work with your outfield coordinator or someone, at the big league coaching staff, and just give him 1,000 reps. Now, that's not something that you can do when he's in the big leagues necessarily. So it wouldn't surprise me, now that Chandler Simpson is down, he's going to go and get a lot more pre-game reps. He's going to get more reps in the outfield when it's not as meaningful, wins or losses. So I think that there's probably a ceiling that you're not going to push past in terms of instincts, but I do think that some of those things, especially defensively, just in terms of continued reps and instruction where you can offset it some, but you're going to hit that ceiling. And I think the good thing with someone like Chandler Simpson, and there are guys in every draft who have unbelievable raw tools, that you can teach it enough where that can make them into a very valuable big league. And I think, Simpson still has every chance to learn enough in terms of outfield skills where that's not the liability it was proving to be.
Jonathan, great info. Fun week for us to see some of these debuts, and we'll talk to you soon. Appreciate it, man. Good to see you.
You guys, good to see you.
Give Jonathan a follow if you don't already. Just first and last name on Twitter, and then check out his work on MLB Pipeline. Quick peek at Friday locks. Todd Father and Kratz go down, but Pap comes through with his San Diego-Baltimore parlay on Friday. Money bags. AJ is just barely down. Cam's up 220. Pap's up 443. I'm up 412. So we're in good shape right now heading into this next stretch. Cam, you go first. We got a lot to cover here in these two BetMGM segs. What do you got for us?
Yeah, new year, new money for me. So let's continue to play this thing smart. I'm going to put my 100 out there on the Miami Marlins against the Colorado Rockies. We're going over the run total, 1.5. Give me the Marlins. I will never, ever bet on the Rockies for the remainder of this season, maybe the next few seasons, and we're going to be back in the money.
There you go.
I don't understand why they're so good. They're so awesome.
I mean, usually nowadays
I'll bet on the White Sox before I bet on the Rockies, AJ.
Smart. Now, what happens when the White Sox and the Rockies play each other?
White Sox all day.
All right.
Taking Will Venable.
Okay.
What do you have?
I got Joe Ryan under 6.5 strikeouts against the A's. And then I have over 17.5 outs for Jack Flaherty against the White Sox. Because the Tigers are going to play the White Sox. The White Sox can't hit. He's going to go 6 innings, get my 6. And Joe Ryan has gotten some strikeouts, but the A's don't strike out.
True.
It's one of the weird things about the A's is like they don't score runs. Normal teams don't score runs, strike out a lot. They don't really strike out a lot. They just don't score runs.
No, they've got good contact hitters.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Jacob Wilson's on another planet.
Yeah.
He never strikes out.
But they don't strike out a lot. And Joe Ryan has been known to get strikeouts, but 6.5 for him is a big number, especially out there in Sacramento. That's a long ways to go.
True. All right, last minute of this part, then I'll do my pick and Pap's pick later. College Baseball World Series, most popular tickets right now. You know, number 1, Little Rock at plus 825. Oklahoma plus 190. Tennessee is minus 300. Murray State plus 260. And Oregon State is minus 210.
Okay.
What do you like? Who do you think is going to win? I mean, we're going to talk a little
just
college
today,
baseball.
though. That's just today.
Oh, that's just
That's
for the
just
games
today because there's games today where the winner goes on and the loser goes home.
Oh.
So Little Rock is playing LSU. That's why.
That's why.
So
it's
Murray
like
State's like Vanderbilt, Texas. See ya.
Right.
First 2 national seeds out.
Man.
Right. Murray State's playing Ole Miss, I think, and Ole Miss pounded them yesterday.
Mm-hmm. But SEC's getting some hate. They're getting some shade.
I mean, when you get 14 teams in 13 teams, it's tough for them all to win.
True. Leftover time, new segment. I mean, we don't get to things, so we save it for late in the show, and I like doing that exact open late in the show because it makes people hungry, so we don't want to do it early in the show. We've got about 10 minutes left. Let's start with some college baseball. We got the playoffs up and running right now. We're going to talk more college baseball on Baseball America Hot Sheet later. If you're watching on YouTube, you go to the Baseball America YouTube channel. But let's start with Clemson's visitors bullpen. Did you see this?
This is no big deal because
Why
it's
is it no
college.
big deal?
Who cares? Who cares? This is dumb to me. Did you ever play at Wrigley when the bullpen and the dudes were taking people's hats off and stealing them, and Chad Kreuger's got to go up in the stands and whoop some ass to get his hat back?
But they don't do that anymore.
I know they got rid of them and all.
So aren't we going back?
The Giants bullpen was on the field. The A's bullpen was on the field forever.
But they had a walled-off area, and now
I love it.
On the field right in front
of
students.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Let's go. You want to deal with it? There it is right there. Look at them. See how good you can concentrate.
They're going pitch by pitch, obviously.
I love it.
Love it. I stinking love it. For me, this is what college baseball should be about. First off, when you watch a college baseball game, there's nothing but antics, right? This is kind of the reason why a little part of me hates college baseball because I didn't get the experience, but there's so many antics going on that I love it. This is what it should be about, right? The yelling, the hoopla. Fans feel like they're in the bullpen with you. For me, when I watch a college baseball game, everything I saw right there, it fits. It makes sense to me, and I love it. I think more bullpens should be like this. This is what makes it fun, and we get to see who has the real thick skin out there. We get to see who really can handle the pressure.
By the way, speaking of antics, the Duke guy that got kicked out of the game,
yeah,
that was freaking ridiculous, dude. The guy had a hard hat on. He just hit a home run. and he got kicked out of the game. That was bull
for
crap.
cheering for a teammate
team.
too.
He wasn't showing him up. Like the NCAA, they want to make the game fun and they want to have the kids love it. And you let kids flip their bats and do all kinds of stuff, and they have a celebration, and he's not doing it to the other team. He had his hat on. The umpire kicked him out. It was bullcrap. Good for you, the Duke. I don't know what the Duke's coach name is. Good for you on the Duke coach.
Pollard. Coach Pollard. Yeah.
But if you ain't watched college baseball this weekend, I know this is an MLB show. But if you didn't see the Oklahoma State-Georgia game, the way that game ended, and walked them off, like if you didn't watch some of these games, Wright State beat Vanderbilt twice, UTSA beat Texas twice. Like, this stuff means something, man, to these kids, and good for them. And then the Oregon play was crap, too. I know Oregon got outed, but the game where the kid slid into home plate, I thought that was a bad call. I mean, he was trying to slide. He was nowhere to go. But listen, there's some things in college baseball that I don't love like Cam, but a lot of it is pretty awesome. I mean, kids, man, they get a chance to play. They get to have fun. And if you can't get into college baseball when it gets in the regionals and the super regionals, you're watching a team like Stetson play NC State and beat them, like, then how do you not get excited? UTSA took out Texas. UTSA beat Texas, the number 2 national seed, 3 times this year. And they knocked them out of the regional at their home park. Like, if you can't get excited about that, I don't know what you're watching, because it's pretty freaking awesome.
We got to get you on Hot Sheet at some point in the next couple weeks.
I love college baseball. I think college baseball, because high school is a little bit too high school is a little bit too lower of a level for me. Like, I love watching it, but it's not quality enough. You get into like these Division I baseballs games, like, they're fun to watch because the kids are good and they know what they're doing, and they're usually pretty well coached. Now, I mean, obviously there's bad coaches every game, you know that. But it's fun because they're so into these games, and every game is like life or death, and they are into it, and they're cheering for their teammates. Like, this is what it's supposed to be about.
It's June Madness. It's June Madness in baseball.
Absolutely.
FT Nation, what's up? It's your boy Parlay Pal. Yeah, we coming hot off a 2-game parlay pick. That's right. So this week we're gonna keep it simple. My system says I got a 68.5% chance for the Marlins to win tonight, and I believe they're gonna win by 2 runs. And Vegas only has them at -1.5 tonight, at +110. So I gotta take that tonight. Plus, what's his name? German Marquez. Man, he's got like an 80 RA. He's giving it up this year. So I'm looking for the Marlins at home tonight. Let's get that cheese.
Let's go. Nice and American with that pronunciation.
Marquez. German Marquez.
German Marquez. Hey.
German.
Hey, bet cash is the same if you nail it. Good stuff. Pap, I'm going to drop 125 to win a hundo on the Twins A's under 5 runs in the first 5 innings. I do think, even though Joe Ryan might not rack up strikeouts, that he'll be economical and get through 5 against the A's. So he's given up 1 run or less in 5 of his last 6 starts. He's just on such
Joe Ryan is good.
Yeah, the A's are not scoring much at home early on in games. Minnesota's offense was on fire. It's cooling off a little bit. And then the only concern for me is Luis Severino, who's been good, but his home road splits are enormous. On the road, he's a sub-1 ERA. At home, he's over a 6. But
it's weird because that's a minor league park.
I know. I think it'll turn around. I think a little bit of that.
He's a big leaguer.
Yeah, I think a little. I don't think it's the park as much as his prep, right? Like, he talked about it a little bit, that he was feeling off there, and AJ has talked about how a lot of guys are pissed off there. But I think he'll turn it around at home. So anyway, 125 to win a hundo. Here's all the picks on the board today. And then also the BetMGM Swing for the Fences game is there for you. You can win a prize every day during the season. And what you do is, it's a free-to-play game. You can get a single, double, triple homer. If you're getting out, you can play again the next day. Go check out the game on the BetMGM app.
Be very scared when you and Pap have the same luck. Be very scared.
Be very scared. That's right.
Hey, you know what? Mine didn't say over the 8-run total, though. I didn't see that on mine. Make sure they add that over the 8 runs. So it isn't exactly the same.
Okay, fine. Okay. So we'll parlay you. We'll add to that. Gambling problem or concern? Make sure you call 1-800-GAMBLER. We'll be right back for Slap. happy retirement to Josh Harrison. I feel like we're getting an announcement every 5 seconds.
Stop with these, please. Stop with these. Like, you don't play, you're retired, dude. Like, you don't need to announce your retirement. You ain't played in like 2 years. You're out. You're retired. Dude. You're retired.
But I just want to thank everyone.
Okay, thank you. I haven't retired. So do I have to thank everyone because I never officially retired, even though I ain't played almost 10 years? I still got to retire.
Yes.
Thank everyone.
Why?
Like, they know. Put out a note on social.
We want a letter. We want a letter to the White Sox fans about how special it was. I need that letter.
They know.
Let's go, man.
Why do I need to write a letter? Like, they know. Like, I don't even understand. I mean, it's cool and all, but like, if you ain't played for over a year, guess what? You're retired.
Hey,
and then you can do that. I'm coming back.
Especially over 30, especially over 35. Over 35, you've been out of the game for a year, position player. Sorry, bud. But congrats on a great
career for Josh Harrison.
Josh Harrison, my guy, one of the grinders in the league.
Cam, can we get him on? I think you're on with us either next week or the week after.
Absolutely.
Let's get him on.
Say less.
Okay, we'll do it. Next time Cam's on, let's get Josh Harrison. I love the fresh off the retirement announcement conversation. Hey, it's big week for prospects. You've got Hot Sheet on the Baseball America YouTube channel. May Day also coming up later on. So Dodgers territory, then Hot Sheet, then May Day. See you Tuesday for the TV crowd. There it is. Dodgers territory coming up in a few minutes. Alana Rizzo and Clint Pasillas with you. By the way, I mean, you're pretty active in the YouTube chat. Do you see this like ranking thing now? You see the numbers, like the purple numbers?
Yeah, what is that?
I'm learning. It looks like it ranks you based on how active you are in the chat. I don't know. I mean, FT fam's telling me that it just was revealed on Thursday. I missed Thursday and Friday.
I don't get a crown.
Maybe you're not chatting enough? I don't know. I'm going to look into it, but I don't know.
I can't chat too much because some of the people in there just make me angry. So I try to skim it.
Some of those people go in timeout pretty frequently, but it is what it is. We did get a question in that chat from Lucas Price. Would you guys ever consider a foul territory fest? Funny enough, I have spoken to one festival that covers rock and country and stuff like that about us appearing there sometime in the future. I don't know if it'll happen, but anyway, it's been discussed, us making a little stop by at some point down the line, but it is what it is. Hey, also results from ChatBCC, which is where you can continue the combo with us, was the Kobe Mayo play clean or dirty? 90% dirty. Pretty obvious. I'd like to know what the 10% think.
I don't know how you could. I mean, I'm not saying it was dirty. It wasn't dirty. It wasn't malicious. I mean, it wasn't a dirty play. It was just a stupid play.
Right.
I mean, it was smart, stupid. Like, it was a smart play, but it was stupid.
Well,
you got to be a better actor. You got to be a better actor.
There you go. Bad. Good idea. Bad acting. There you go. I like that.
Hey, LeBron's been doing that for 20, years. Sometimes he bumped into someone and he flies.
Who?
LeBron.
Oh, the guy, Cam's SGA. You get within 3 feet of him, he's on the ground getting free throws.
Hey, it's good acting. Wins championships.
Watch out, Pacers.